Dabar sekantis pranešėjas bus daktaras Uģis Nastevičs iš Latvijos universiteto.
Aš pasinaudosiu progą, paaiškinsiu, kodėl staiga braliukas atsiranda čia pas mus, nes labai norėjosi įtraukti ir Japonijos regioną, pakalbėti apie tai, kas gali būti, jeigu yra ezoteriško Japonijos kultūroje. Nieks dėja Lietuvoje mums į tai negalėjo atsakyti ir paaiškinti. O antras dalykas, tai yra ir pats Uģis yra Latvių dievturių sąjūdžio aktyvus narys. Ir jo disertacija netaip seniai apginta yra kaip tik darbas, kuriame lygina Shintō ritualus su senovės baltų ritualais ar dabartiniais. Taigi Uģis pasirodė labai tinkamas dalyvis šitos konferencijos, suteikiantis į tarptautiškumą, tegu ir nelabai didelį, bet dar perspėsiu, kad Uģis gerai supranta lietuvių kalbą, tik jam sunkiau kalbėti, todėl jo pranešimas bus anglų kalba. Ar teisingai viską pasakiau, Uģi? Puiku.
Gerbiami pranešėjai ir klausytojai, labą dieną iš Rygos. Prieš savo pranešimą norėčiau padėkoti profesoriui Benorijui ir organizaciniam komitetui už tai, kad šī konferencija įvyko. Ir linkiu sveiku ir laimingesniu naujoju metu. Aš teikšu savo pristatymą anglų kalbā. So I hope that screen is visible now. Ačiū. So I am Uģis Nastevičs from Latvia, and this is my presentation, Esoterism in Baltic and Shintō rituals. First, some words on esoterism. According to some definitions, it is the state or quality of being esoteric, obscure, and only understood by a small number of people. Often it involves knowledge that's intended to be revealed to people initiated, and it comes from the Greek esoteros, meaning inner. So these are inward forms of faith and religion. So maybe there is a priori esoterism. The aim of this study is to compare some aspects of esoterism in the chosen sample of the study. So it is Baltic, especially in this presentation it will be Latvian, but in further article I would like to study also Lithuanian part, and Shintō, Japanese rituals. So as per the data of census and statistics among the population, there were 0.168% Baltic faith, including Romuva adepts in Lithuania in 2011, and 0.036% of dievturi congregational fellows in Latvia, and 0.017 Shintō priests in Japan in 2018. So, if the requirement of the status of esotericism is being only understood by a small number of people, I presume that the sample population, which is less than 0.2% of each society of those countries, is small enough to dare to consider any present ritual practice and the knowledge of it by Romuvier and dievturi fellows and Shintō priests as a priori esoteric. There is important place for the sacred language of Baltic rituals. There has been a long colonial history dominated by allochthonous religion, and the last pagans of Europe, so-called, in the Baltic cultural sphere developed crypto-religious practices. So the concept of high context culture, due to the language-centered nature, cryptolect, arcane cant, and linguistic isolationism refined within a protectedly colonized people, which is likewise attributable to Latvians. In case of dievturība, it can be completely practiced only through understanding the divine songs, dainas. It is interesting that it was called as Peculares Hymnos Deorum by Paul Einhorn. So they're in Latvian language. More than 250,000 of them are in the UNESCO World Heritage, the Cabinet of Folk Songs, which is called the Latvian Dainu Skapis. It was made in 1880. So the study should be expanded whether a similar state of affairs is relevant to Lithuanians and to what extent the practicability of Romuva is exclusively limited to the sphere of Lithuanian language. Let's say the terms Balts, Balti in Latvian and Baltas, Baltai in Lithuanian. So it is from the Proto-Baltic Bal, derived from Proto-Indo-European bel, bhol, shiny or white. Often it is found in words related to water or humid places, marsh, swamp, bog, lake, and others, due to their shiny reflective surface. In Latvian, for example, it stands for both the adjective white and the ethnonym of the Baltic people, and it is likewise understood as dear, good, and pretty beautiful. If there is no this esoteric knowledge, outsider may appallingly misinterpret our common Baltu vienības diena as some sort of supremacist whites unity day. Whereas the Baltuju vienības diena corresponding to the later is irrelevant. So this understanding of certain vocabulary can become decisive aspect of understanding or misunderstanding some ritual parts. So as for the sacred language of Shintō rituals, those texts are addressed to kami. So those are deities and the ancestral spirits which reach back into remote antiquity and hence maintain the most archaic form attainable in the language. However, it is largely incomprehensible for the Japanese general public. And it is in both written and spoken form, not to mention foreigners at all. It is the language which is used in Shintō rituals is very specific, very particular, and you will not be able to find any translations of those words because they are not included in dictionaries whatsoever. Those words which are used in Shintō rituals, they are so specific that it is hard to access the meanings for the outsider. For the first part. Then, moreover, customarily after reciting the text, priests burned the pages in order not to make them available for presumable desecration. Let's see that in case of Latvia, the eastern part where is Rezekne, Petrus Kulesius in the end of 16th century, he wrote about the local religious practices. Here is a quotation in Latin, and if you render it in English, it will be about like this. When the pseudomistes, so it is means the priests, priest and old man offer to the gods the aforesaid words in a wicked fashion. When they have been conceived, they are distributed among those who are present. And all the bones are burned with fire, and to the same are said all the broken vessels that were used for the same sacrifice, lest those things be liable to any profanation. End of quotation. So this practice of burning the ritual items has been present also in the Baltic cultural sphere to avoid desecration. Even today, there are but a few places where an outsider may access these texts of Shintō rituals. Those are the closed stacks libraries of Kogakukan University in Ise and Kokugakuin University in Tokyo, and the subsidiary bookstore of the Jinja Shimposha, or the Jinja, the Shintō Shrine Information Agency, of the main religious union of Shintō, the Jinja Honcho in Tokyo. So in order to complete my doctoral thesis study and also to make this presentation happen, I have been to Japan for 9 times up to the COVID period. And I have been working with archives in all these aforementioned places, because there are not so any other options where to access them. So, for instance, if we look on the Shintō religious ritual text, in the general contemporary Japanese, the word nation or people, or in Lithuanian tauta, will be kokumin. So it is made from 2 parts, country and folk people. With traditional alias of its reading, it would be kuni kami, so the same meaning. However, in case of Shintō texts, the Shintō rituals, the term is derived from old Japanese words. For example, the first one is ukara, which means kin. However, in the contemporary Japanese, if you would try to check the dictionary, you would find the reading shinzoku, which is completely different from ukara. Then the next term is yakara, which is family. However, nowadays family is kazoku, so nothing similar to what is pronounced in Shintō rituals. Then the next term is takara, fief people, but in nowadays Japanese there is no equivalent whatsoever. Yet there is a homonym with takara, the same sounding, which means treasure. This word is even today in the contemporary Japanese language present. And then after takara, the next term is omitakara, which means whole nation people. Nowadays in Japanese, it is kokumin. However, it is actually homonym with omitakara, imperial treasure. So in case of Shintō texts, the nation, people, or tauta is viewed as imperial treasure. The same is also in case with kodakara, which is ko plus takara. Here is a consonant change, which means child as a treasure. So these multi-layered connotations embedded in the particular choice and the use of archaic poetic vocabulary characterize the sacred language of Shintō. Let's see, this is a text from the induction of the overseas leader of Dievturi. This is recorded on the 2nd of September 2007 by Zinta Puone. Here is a video. I would like to play it, and while you are listening to the video, you may read my translation into English up there.
Vai tu spurīt, uzņemoties vadoņu pienākumu, apņemies iet dievāju ceļu, censties izvairīties no svešu mežu maldugunīm un meklēt pareizās atslēgas, ar kurām atvērt latvisko zinču vārtus un centīsies daudzināt un stiprināt latviešu dievestību, latviešu tautas nākotnes un latviskās Latvijas labā. Ja tā, tad vērsu seju mūsu svētās Latvijas zemes virzienā uz cietā un nemainīgā akmens pamats dzintēdams apliecina šo savu apņemšanos klātesošo liecinieku Dievturu vecāko saviešu un draugu priekšā.
Jā, es gribu. Visi meži kunenim dega, visi ceļi atslēgām. Ar Dieviņa palīdzību visam gribu cauri tikt.
Mēs šo savu apņemšanos un solījumu esam dzirdējuši, un ar šo es ievedu tevi Spurriču Latvu Dievturu sadraudzes vadoņu amatā, novēlēdams Dievu palīgu savā latviešu dievestības un latviecības darbā. sēdi augstu tu bāliņ, runā lepnu valodiņ, lai no tevis sveši ļaudis pirkt padomi. Nebija viegli paliept Jānim, Marģerim Grīnam un Kļaviņ Ģurim sekot brasteņu Ernest iemīstajās pēdās, un arī tev nebūs viegli, bet zinādams tavu dziļo pieeju latvietībai, esat pārliecināti, ka būs mums labs vadonis. Paldies!
So, although there are several documentations of this oath, which is given by the new leader, they are all preserved in archive of Dievturi Overseas Library in the USA, Wisconsin, where is this Dievsēta, the overseas shrine of Dievturi. But the text is not available in other places, and in case of video recording, this is the only one which has been made so far. So this is also kind of limited esoteric information. Everyone can find the photographic evidence of this ritual. However, what is said in the oath, how it is done, what are the sequence of things, this is an often obscure part. So here you can see the process, how it's happened. What is interesting here is the part of the text, if so, then turn your face to the direction of our holy land of Latvia. So here you can witness the understanding of one's position wherever Dievturi are in the world. If the induction of the new leader happens, then it is done in accordance to the pointing towards Latvia. Then another interesting example is from Japan. This is also a text of limited access, and it is from the induction of the emperor, which is also the leader of Shintō, the chief or the head or the high priest, highest priest of Shintō. And this is the text which is Otsuge Bumi, and it is read by the new emperor at the Daijōsai celebration. It happens in November, and the text is pronounced in a building, Yukiden, and then after several hours in a similar building, Sukiden. They are built within a temporary Daijō-kyu or palace, which is for this specific celebration, and it is consisting of the text which have been transferred generation by generation for a long time. The oldest text version which has been preserved is all in Chinese characters, or in Japanese they are called kanji. So the reading of them has been changed during the time according to the Japanese language development in each period of time. However, the meaning and the text main idea is the same. Here you can see the oldest preserved kanji character composition. However, in the end of it, there is a part of text which has not been retained in the oldest version, but it has been added later. Here in the English rendering, you can see that the added text is in brackets. So I will read the text in Japanese, but you can read the English with the big letters. Ise no isuzu no kawakami ni oashimasu amate ookami. Amatsu ya shiro kunitsu ya shiro no moro moro no kami tachi ni mao shite mao saku mi mina moro kami no hiroki momori ni yorite kuni no naka tairaka ni tanatsu mono yutaka ni shite takaki iyashiki o oi moro moro no tami o sukuwan yorite kotoshi arata ni etaru tokoro no ni o mono o tatematsuru. Mata mi no ue ni okasu beki wazawai o imada kizasazu ni harai nozokite sarina wa ashiki koto o kashikitaru koto nakaran. Mata takaki yama fukaki tani dokoro dokoro na o shiru shite majinai matsuran mono mina koto gotoku ni kechi horobosan koto. Kore amatsukami kunitsukami no atsuki mamori o koufurite itasu beki mono nari. What is important that this text is pronounced by the new emperor in a specific direction towards the Ise shrine. The grand Ise shrine is the head or the principal shrine of Shintō.
Sorry, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah, Achu. It is the shrine where the goddess of sun, Amaterasu, is worshipped, and Amaterasu is considered to be the ancestral deity of an imperial clan. So this communication in this ritual is done towards the ancestral deity. This ritual also encompasses offering of the new harvest, and in other places this ritual is done by ordinary Shintō priests who do it towards other kami, other deities, and each one person in his home can venerate their ancestral spirits. However, this part of ritual is only done within this first time when new emperor comes to the throne. So here you can see two pictures. One is a hammer retro azimuthal projection centered to Latvia to calculate the holy direction. So here you can see the central point is Latvia, and all around, all the places around, wherever it is, you can take the point and calculate which angle does it goes to get the shortest distance to Latvia. However, on the right side there is Yukiden-Sukiden plan. There are two similar buildings built. One of them is the place where this ritual happens in the late evening, and the second one is few hours after the midnight when the next day starts. And both of them are done with the direction of emperor facing towards Ise shrine, and here is the inner plan of that building. So, ačiū uz dėmesį. Here is a list of sources, and I would be happy to answer to your questions.
Okay, ačiū Uģis ir gal būtų klausimų.
Are you a Shintō priest?
Ačiū. I am not, but I have done the lecture course of Shintō rituals in the Kogakukan University, and there was also Shintō ritual practice done within that course. and we had to wear the Shintō priest attire, the clothes, and to do parts of rituals with the tools.
Lietuviškai, angliškai, kaip?
Angliškai.
So I would like to ask, beside information you provided on the ritual aspects and the relation between Baltic and Shintō rituals, my question would be regarding the ancient pre-Christian Baltic tradition. Could you tell there are any possible indications based on textual references, textual sources, that could allow us to talk about any kind of hidden secret knowledge of pre-Christian culture? Because as we discussed today, from ancient Greek world till Japan, we can find some elements in different forms, but so-called hidden secret knowledge. What about the pre-Christian Baltic nations?
Thank you, labai ačiū. I think that the texts we see, they may seem like shallow layer, like upper layer, but I think about the folklore texts. But most of them, they have a deeper layer, and it depends on the reader's knowledge if he has or she has the keys of understanding the same text, which may seem exoteric, so available for outsiders. The text has been preserved and transferred from generation to generation, and for foreigner it may seem like a silly folk tale or fairy tale or some silly song, and it seems that it is very open text, accessible to anyone. But when you have the deeper understanding of double meanings and other layers and symbolical meanings, the same text, which may be accessible to anyone, it becomes much more informative if you have this additional information to use. This is the case proposed by Rūta Muktupāvela, professor who have studied the Latvian and Lithuanian texts of rituals, especially during the autumn time of ancestral spirit veneration. And this is also her opinion, that these texts which have been preserved in oral tradition, they convey a layer of deeper information.
Okay, ačiū Ugai, gal dar, bet jau laiko nelabai yra.